Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. My name is Monica Hartschuk, and I'm a Pilates, yoga, and meditation teacher. And I'm right now here on the beautiful island Paros with my participants. And I'm hosting tonight for US time morning breath workshop. We're going to talk a lot about the connection of breath and swallowing. And I invited two specialists, Carol and Dr. Bernsen. Carol is from the States, Dr. Bernsen is from Germany. And yes, I found the nose breathing technique in December last year. And it was transformational for me and for my health. And I worked with Carol for several months. And I also, Dr. Bernsen, I'm in touch since I think March of this year. And I'm very, very excited that I can introduce you to both of them and they can share their knowledge and their experience with us. So first of all, I would like to welcome Carol. This is our first guest speaker, Carol Baglia, a registered respiratory therapist, certified asthma educator, Buteyko Breathing educator and trainer. She has been coaching clients since 2003 and has experience working with variety of breathing difficulties, such as sleep apnea, COPD, anxiety attacks, and much more. Carol will share her knowledge and how to optimize breathing for improvements in health and prevention of many common ailments. Carol is passionate about helping others to breathe easier, and I have the pleasure to working with her in private for several months. Through her, I learned a lot about my own breath and how to improve it, and those improvements were definitely a life changer for me. So please welcome Carol. And do we have to change anything, or just like here? I can.
No, hello.
Just.
I think if I just start talking, usually the speaker view will work. And I'm going to share screens with everyone so that I can, oh, you disabled the participant screen sharing. It's given me a message. I don't know if you can open that up so I can share screens. I think it's under security. If you click on that, it'll give you the option to share the screen. Okay, so let me try it. I got it. Okay, good. So let me get this ready to go. So I am someone that developed asthma myself in my 40s, and I thought that I was doing everything right. I ate right and exercised, and here I was still suffocating. I couldn't breathe right. I realized that my grandmother had died from asthma in her 50s. And so genetically, I always had the potential for that, but it didn't show up in my life until in my 40s when I was overwhelmed with, I had 3 teenagers and a lot of stress happening in my life. And I didn't like the solution that the doctors were giving me, which was all the medications, which made me feel worse. And what made sense to me was that my breathing had changed. It was different than it was 5 or 10 years before. And I couldn't change the world. They were telling me to avoid all these things that were making my asthma attacks happen, such as dust and pollen and smoke and all those things. And I can't change the world. I can only change myself. And changing my breathing is what solved everything. So most people ignore their breathing until it does become very problematic. But I don't know if Monica had the opportunity to give you the breathing test, the symptoms that you could evaluate how often or how strongly you were experiencing those. But so this isn't just about asthma, it's about any of those symptoms on that sheet. And everyone should answer this question B, that you're aware of your breathing. And fortunately, we do have some voluntary control over it, so we can change it and make it appropriate for the needs of our body. So when people have breathing problems, they think, well, if I just try harder, if I work at my breathing, that will make it better. But in reality, your breathing should be very efficient, discreet, subtle, minimal. It should only use 2% of your energy. And I won't spend time defining good breathing or having you suggest what are good breathing, but it's just starting to get you to think about all the aspects of your breathing, how fast it is, how strong it is, where it is in your body, that type of thing. And this is the definition of good breathing. It should just be a background function that's happening in your body. It shouldn't be very obvious at all. And what happens when we breathe too much? What are things that you typically do that make you breathe more? And I know you guys are muted, so I will just go through this myself, but usually it's interactive with all types of emotions, whether it's joy or fear or anger or, just stress. And of course, all kinds of exertion, physical activity will increase your breathing. Many people don't realize too that all food is very stimulating to your breathing, some more than others, as whether it's a fat, a protein, a carb. But notice how strong your breathing is about 20 minutes after eating. And environment can be things such as pollution, elevation, temperature, weather. There's a lot of things in each of these categories. An example of entertainment is if you're listening to fast music and you're breathing with the rhythm. So what I'm saying is that there's so much stimulus to our breathing all the time. And if we're just leaving it on autopilot to do anything it wants to, it starts getting stronger, faster, bigger. And what things would make it to breathe less? What things that you routinely do would slow your breathing? Now, fortunately, Monica's a pro at this because she's teaching you a lot of these things here. And many people, though, often have difficulty thinking of things that make you breathe less, such as coordinating the breath with the movement, with some of the forms of exercise. And of course, the opposite of eating is not eating. And that helps slow your breathing down because some foods can have your breathing ramped up for a couple hours just trying to digest it if it's very challenging for your body, what it was that you ate. So most odors are very stimulating to your breathing, but there are a couple smells like lavender and chamomile that are soothing to the breathing. And so people every day are affected by what I call all these E factors, all these things that are stimulating to your breathing. And hardly anyone is routinely, daily doing stuff in the slower or less column to bring their breathing back down to the baseline level where it should be. So over time, this volume regulator in your brain for the volume of air just keeps getting turned up a little bit stronger, a little bit bigger. And one of the ways that it became very obvious is with COVID and people being asked to wear masks. Now, if you are an efficient breather, the mask wearing, you wouldn't feel objections to it. It wouldn't feel like you were suffocating or a problem to have that over your face. But people that are breathing very powerfully and strong and aggressive and all of that, yeah, putting something in front of your nose like that, it would be very intimidating and claustrophobic and uncomfortable. So what is the right amount that adults should be breathing at rest? And the answer to this is C, which they've done more and more research on this. And slower is better. It gets your body into the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the rest and digest, and what most of us need because our lifestyles are really pushing us the opposite direction. So what causes many people to have a health crisis is overbreathing. The faster you breathe, the closer to death you are. And even in resuscitating people, they have realized that it's better not to overventilate them. So they are teaching hands-only CPR now, because just by pushing on the rib cage, you are moving it in and out, and therefore there's air moving in and out. And that's all you need, is that little bit to keep that process working. So many people, it's epidemic now, the people that have breathing problems and symptoms on that sheet, because we have permitted our breathing to be so strong and powerful. And it's a contradiction to our biology, the way our bodies were designed to breathe. So when you breathe bigger, faster, stronger, you activate the sympathetic nervous system, this fight or flight response in your body. And things occur that are trying to prepare yourself for this huge physical activity. And notice the breathing pattern increases even more to be able to do this exertion. And this is going to cause all kinds of things to happen, like your digestion slows down because your body has to prioritize and is thinking, it doesn't matter what I ate for lunch, I need to save my life in this moment, so I'll deal with you later, and puts that on the back burner. The same with your immune system. Your body, if it's been fighting some kind of infection or disease, it has to prioritize, put all its energy efforts into saving its life in that moment. So again, it downplays that. I'll deal with that later. So it's easy to activate this. This is not an on or off switch. It's any shades or degrees in between. And if you're breathing even 10% more than you're supposed to, you have this turned on to some level. So if what's right for you is 10 breaths a minute, but you're breathing 11 breaths a minute because you let those E factors get your breathing bigger, stronger, faster, you have this started. And when you constantly have this turned on because you're chronically over breathing, it can lead to a whole host of symptoms like you saw on that breathing test. So there are things that you typically think, well, this wouldn't have anything to do with the way that I'm breathing, but there is a whole science behind explaining all of these different symptoms. So notice there's a lot of digestive things because, again, your body isn't going to have enough energy to cope with that. It's directing its attention to other things. And you waste too much energy for the act of breathing. 20 to 30% of your energy can be used just to breathe when you should only be using 2% of your energy for breathing. That's how discrete, subtle, minimal it should be. So depending on your genetics and how your body is coded to react to the overbreathing, will determine what symptoms you display and how strong they are, depending on how much you're overbreathing. So my body, I feel is lucky. I'm an asthmatic, which means that my body's sensitive and it's going to alert me right away when I'm over breathing so that I can do something about it and not get further into the symptoms or the attack. So your breathing affects more than just your respiratory system. It hugely affects your nervous system, your cardiac, your mental state, your digestion, circulation. It's your breathing is the foundation for everything else in your body because it's 24/7, 365, and everything's tied into your breathing. So when it's unstable, malfunctioning, all these other symptoms are also not going to be able to work properly because they're all relying or dependent on your breathing. So this is just samples of some of the symptoms that people have. So I think it's important to know this little comic is supposed to illustrate the fact that really what you are is an air filter. The more you breathe, the filthier your filter is going to be. The more smoke, pollen, dust, germs. This is especially important with COVID too. So there's no advantage there to breathing more. You're just inundating your body with more of whatever is in the air. And when you think about it, what is breathing? Breathing is bringing the external environment deep inside your body, and it's going directly into your bloodstream. So your body had to have a way of protecting itself. And it's really great how nature often mimics itself, like the pipes in your lungs are very similar to a tree branching, and that's why they call it the bronchial tree. And so this maze is what your body created, all these downsizing and changing of directions and all of that to try to protect itself from anything getting through it to get right into your bloodstream. Because once something's in your bloodstream, it's throughout your body. So this is one of the ways that your body is designed to keep foreign things or harmful things out of your body. And the pipe that you're actually getting air through is about the size of a hair. That's how tiny the tube is before it reaches the air sac where the gas exchange actually occurs. And it changes direction and subdivides over 28 times before it reaches that tiny little air sac where you can get the gas exchange. So the best way to get air through this system is to breathe delicately, to let the air make all those change of directions and downsize and find its way through all those tiny little nooks and crannies. And the stronger you breathe, the more you can suck the walls of the tube shut, just like when you suck through a straw and it collapses because of the force that you're using. So that's why the harder you breathe, the harder it is to breathe. When you are running up and down flights of stairs and you start really heaving and breathing heavy, you're collapsing, you're not letting the air through. The calmer you can keep your breathing, no matter what the level of physical exertion, the more open this stays and the better gas exchange and oxygenation that you can get. So the question is, how does your body know when to take a breath? And many people assume because it runs out of oxygen and your body says, oh, I need some more oxygen, go get some in here. But in reality, your body is looking at your carbon dioxide. That's what breathing is all about, is regulating the amount of carbon dioxide that you're retaining in your body. Carbon dioxide is what Dr. Buteyko called the drug of all drugs, or the vitamin of all vitamins, for its importance to us. And there's hardly any in the atmosphere. Every cell in your body produces it, and it's helping to regulate the acid alkaline basis of your blood. You can change that within about 3 breaths or less than a minute, just by the way that you're breathing. And if you know how oxygen is carried in the blood, it's on your red blood cell, and it's a chemical bond where there's these receptor sites that grab the oxygen molecules and hold on to them. So breathing more usually doesn't get a person more oxygen, because there's only so many receptor sites. And once all those are occupied, no matter how much more you breathe, there's no place to put the oxygen. So breathing more doesn't necessarily get you more oxygen. It's so easy for your body to automatically fill all those receptor sites. And that's also why oxygen isn't what's regulating your breathing. Normally your body could care less about it. It's so plentiful. There's 21% oxygen at sea level air. And when we breathe in, it gets on your blood instantaneously, and we end up breathing back out about 16 to 17% oxygen. That's how we are able to do CPR if we wanted to. You have enough oxygen in your exhale to breathe into someone else to give them oxygen. So oxygen's not the issue, it's carbon dioxide. And it's essential for your body to retain the right amount of that all the time. So when we're over breathing, because of all those E factors, we end up having a deficit in our body. We don't have enough. And your breathing is just like food. It's nutrition to your body. It's having the right ingredients in the right proportion. It's very important. So carbon dioxide, it's helping the pH of your blood. It's what your body monitors in order to decide when to take a breath. And when you don't have enough, it's going to affect the smooth muscle in your body. And your smooth muscle is your involuntary muscle. It's the muscle with your brain that you can't tell it what to do. And so that would be your airways would be affected, possibly your circulation. Those are pipes and tubes with smooth muscle. Your digestion, that's one huge big tube of smooth muscle. So you can see that's where people have a lot of symptoms. So 6% is the right amount of carbon dioxide we want to have in our air sacs or alveoli in order to be healthy, to have the right pH. Now, what would happen if you would decide to just stop breathing? Your carbon dioxide is a weak acid, and your body has a threshold or a line that it can't cross. So what will happen is you will pass out, and your body will make you resume breathing. A lot of people say, oh, you're going to die. And it's like, no one's ever committed suicide by holding your breath. Your body won't go there. So again, your body has some like safety features or alarms in it to protect you. Now, if we go the other direction on this and we breathe, which a lot of people will say, yeah, take those big deep breaths and flush out all that old stale air and get in all this oxygen. Well, if I had a competition here with all of you and gave you each a bag of balloons to blow up and was going to give a big prize for who could blow up the bag of the balloons the fastest, how would you feel? And I will suggest that you will feel dizzy, lightheaded, nauseous, fatigued. And if you had asthma, you would definitely start having symptoms or panic attacks, or you would pass out again. So A lot of people also have snoring problems. That's a very common sign of dysfunctional breathing. And snoring would be like blowing up the bag of balloons, big, deep, heavy duty breathing. And your body, again, is going to try to stop you from crossing that line with your pH, so that it has an apnea where it stops you from breathing. And it doesn't breathe, doesn't breathe, doesn't breathe. And it doesn't start back up at normal. No, it goes all the way to the other extreme where your body says, uh-oh, better breathe or else. And then you have the, the startling snorting wake up. And because your body hadn't breathed for so long, and then you're snoring really viciously and trying to catch up with your breath. And then you hit the other extreme where your body says, uh-oh, better stop. And then it stops your breathing again. So it's a vicious cycle of way over breathing, not breathing at all, that people can set themselves up for with the snoring. And it's not good because your body is exhausted the next morning, even though you feel, or people will say, oh, I heard you sleeping, but you really didn't get any rest because your body was trying to save its life all night long. And so there's a narrow range that your body has to stay within in order to exist, to be alive. And you want to keep your pH at the right level. And in order to do that, you need your carbon dioxide, because carbon dioxide is, again, the quickest way for your body to adjust the pH. So I usually ask people, how does the oxygen know where to go as it's circulating throughout your body? And the answer to this is where there's an elevated amount of carbon dioxide. Because if I'm working a muscle here back and forth, there's going to be a buildup of carbon dioxide here. And that's how my body knows, oh, we need more oxygen delivered there to be able to sustain that. That's where the activity, the work is happening. And there's the right pH to get the oxygen off your blood, because again, there's a strong chemical bond holding those oxygen molecules, and it's going to take something special to make it give it up. Otherwise, think about it. Your blood, if it just left oxygen anywhere to willy-nilly, oh, here, we'll give some to your left foot and your right hand, and there wouldn't be any oxygen left on your blood by the time it got back to your heart. It would have just dropped off anywhere, whether it was needed or not. So your body had to have a way of knowing where the oxygen is needed the most. And one of those big clues is the increase in carbon dioxide. So if you are breathing heavy duty, you're blowing up the bag of balloons and you're blowing out, filling them with all your carbon dioxide, then, and you're feeling lightheaded and dizzy, is that because your brain has too much oxygen or not enough oxygen? What would make you feel lightheaded and dizzy if you're breathing powerfully? And the answer is a lack of oxygen. The reason for that is because it's all stuck to your blood, because you gave up all your carbon dioxide. And so your body never sees an elevated amount of carbon dioxide. It doesn't have the right chemistry. It isn't able to offload the oxygen. So that's the real paradox that I want you to understand. The more you breathe, the less oxygen you have available. And you need it for your energy, for healing, for a lot of other things. And this factor is well known. It's in any medical textbook. It's called the oxygen dissociation curve. And it's not disputed. There are a lot of things in medicine that's still controversial, but this has been around for over 125 years and nobody's arguing it. And so a Russian medical, Dr. Buteyko, that developed this breathing retraining program, he just took advantage of this fact. Oh, this is how the body's supposed to work. Well, let's optimize it and make sure that we get the oxygen available and that. So the people that are snoring during the night usually end up having to get up and frequent the bathroom because they're triggering this compensation here with your kidneys will try to dump bicarbonates to correct the pH, but that takes a long time to do it, where again, your breathing is almost instantaneous. So this is just the formula that's happening in every cell of your body, that it's taking food and oxygen to produce energy. The byproduct is carbon dioxide and water. And it's how your body shuffle those around in order to maintain homeostasis and your pH levels, etc. So really, this is all you need to get out of all of that, is sick people breathe more, and breathing more makes healthy people sick. So what Buteyko about is resetting the respiratory control center, that volume control in your brain back to the right level. So it's really an air diet is what it's putting people on, because all those E factors had gotten breathing excessive, and it's not advantageous for many reasons to breathe more than you're supposed to. And your body's going to try to protect itself from the excessive breathing by giving you the symptoms. And all of these are just designed to limit the air, or you can do that yourself if you breathe properly. You can do this so that your body doesn't have to interfere. So, Monica, how much more time do I have?
Okay. Maybe like maybe 4 minutes. And then
4
we're gonna
minutes?
go 4 5 minutes and we would ask questions.
Okay. So how do you normalize your carbon dioxide? That's what the question you should be asking at this point. And this is where Monica's way ahead of the game here. And she's already clued you into some of this, which is breathing only through your nose all the time, no matter what you're doing. And that's what it's designed for. There was a book written back in 1870 called Shut Your Mouth and Save Your Life. And it was written by George Catlin, and he was fascinated by the Native American Indians. And he would do these portraits of these big warriors who were like really an epitome of a human being. They were so vibrant, thriving, just amazing creatures. And he became curious, like, what are you doing? Like, how is it you guys are so healthy and the settlers are all scroungy and sickly? And so he went around and studied all these tribes, and they knew the importance of nose breathing only. So the job of the Indian mother that I have here was to watch over the infant to make sure that the baby never developed the habit of mouth breathing. They would push the little chin up, pinch the lips together. They knew it was survival back then, that we were both hunter and hunted. And the only way that you could have existed was to be invisible, to blend into the scenery. That's why the Indians could so easily ambush, and that they could sneak up on anybody. Their breathing was imperceptible. And that's the way it should still be. That's our so your nose is the body part that it sticks out there to guide you. And it's going to prepare the air properly for your body by making it the right temperature, cleaning it, moistening it to 100% humidity, directing it where it needs to go down below. And your mouth is so much bigger and so inappropriate for breathing. So these are some of the special features in your nose. And if your mouth is open, it's going to, it's very difficult to breathe only through your nose if your mouth is open. The only way to breathe through, adjust your nose, is to keep the mouth closed. It's it doesn't work. So it's a little tough going to the dentist, I admit, because they have their mouth open. And Monica could probably talk you through how to do this comfortable pause, but this is how Dr. Buteyko came up with a way of kind of measuring the carbon dioxide levels in your body. And it's just timing how long you can comfortably not breathe after you exhale. And your breathing before and after this measurement should pretty much be the same. So there's some more detailed directions. And so you breathe normally leading into it. You just decide after the next breath out, I'm going to stop breathing. And you time how many seconds to your body, the signal in your brain tries to make you take a breath. And that's when you let go and resume breathing through your nose. And the number of seconds that you're able to comfortably not breathe should be close to a minute. That would be the ideal time. 45 to 60 seconds would mean that you have healthy amounts of carbon dioxide and your breathing is appropriate. So I'm ready for questions. I can stop the sharing at this point probably, and anybody can unmute or whatever. How did that go?
Do you want to come in front here? I'm gonna give over to somebody who has a question.
Okay.
Hello, thank you so much
Hi.
for this invitation. I'm Nuria, I come from Spain. And I wanted to ask you some questions for me and some for my relatives. So I have 3 relatives, they are quite age after 80 and one after 90, and they passed COVID. And now they are dependent on an oxygen mask to breathe in the night. And specifically my grandmother, I see she's always breathing through her mouth. So what would you recommend? What exercises would you recommend for them now that we have this oxygen dependent, and what would you like to make them less oxygen dependent on the machine?
It would still be the basic trying to restore healthy breathing by breathing only through their nose, trying to calm their breathing down and slow it down. It's just like a deliberate and conscious effort, and make sure they're breathing with their diaphragm, their nose only, their diaphragm, and as gentle as possible. That is, in a nutshell, what it's all about. Just using the right parts of your body in the right way, and then getting the right volume or quantity of air, which is less. It's just trying to relax. Don't try to use muscles to limit the amount of air you're breathing. Use your mind, your relaxation, your letting go, trying to just make do with less air. That would be the best advice.
Recommend them to sleep with this at the same time as the mask with the oxygen.
That is the face form. I can't remember because she doesn't know the box. It's the face form. I am.
Is the face former. Sorry.
Right. So, well, you can ask the next speaker, which is going to talk about the face former, about that. But yeah, that's something, this program, I just gave you a quick overview. I usually spend about 10 hours working with people. So there's a lot more detail and involved with all of it, and it's a process. It's not like you can flip a switch. That's like I tell people that have the snoring problem. It's not like your breathing is perfect during the day, and at night when you go to sleep, suddenly you got this, ridiculous snoring and breathing issue. It's your routine, ordinary, all the time breathing. That's the problem. So it's a process to gradually restore it back to normal ability. It's not something you can do overnight or even in a month. It takes most people several weeks, like 3 to 6 months, to ultimately get it where it should be again, if they diligently work at it multiple times a day. Okay, so somebody, Farmas has a question.
I would love to get the participants from the retreat to maybe ask maybe like that we're gonna take this one as well, but afterwards like we're gonna take it.
Okay,
The question from
go
the-
ahead.
Yeah, the question from the chat is, what is the difference between shallow and deep breathing? And what would you recommend when living in a very air polluted environment?
Living in a what type of environment?
Very polluted.
Very polluted.
Polluted.
environment.
Okay, so let's start with the shallow and deep breathing. How we define shallow breathing is just a small amount of breathing. Many people consider shallow breathing to mean it doesn't go very far into your body. And how we define deep breathing is breathing from the bottom, the diaphragm, which is deep down in your body. But many people think deep breathing means huge breathing, like take a deep breath, and then people take this gigantic breath. So it's semantics. People interpret the words differently. So what we mean by shallow breathing is small breaths, sips of air, just topping it off, but doing it from the bottom, deep down. And interestingly, then, about in a polluted place, of course, less is best when it comes to the breathing. So you're putting less of the pollution in your body. But I will tell you that with asthma studies, some of the most pristine places on the planet have the highest incidence of asthma, and some of the most polluted places have the lowest incidence of asthma. So really, it's your breathing behavior that is the problem. And so if you can breathe properly, which is using only your nose and diaphragm and very gentle, subtle, discreet, quiet, light breathing, then you will, it would be most beneficial. Then you could survive in almost any conditions if you're breathing properly. So, okay, I'm all done. Thank you, Monica. It was a pleasure to.
Can we ask 1 or 2, 3 more
Oh,
questions?
sure. I thought, yeah, I didn't want to take too long.
Yeah, no, I Hello, my name is
Hi.
Tamara. I have the question, why do you pause after the exhalation and not the inhalation? What difference
That
does
is
it
a
make?
great question. So the air sacs in your lungs are very thin, delicate, 1 cell thin, tiny, I mean, just very fragile, because to allow for the gas exchange to happen very quickly. So when you hold your breath in, you have those, and they're elastic material. They're stretched. They kind of shrink and swell as you breathe in and out. So if you hold your breath in, it's stretched pretty big. And the whole time you're holding, there's still gas exchange occurring. So it's like overstretching. Now, does elastic get weaker or stronger if it's overstretched and overstretched? Weaker. What you're risking is rupturing those tiny little air sacs. And instead of being all these little bunches of grapes and that, it turns into a grapefruit because it's kind of lost all that surface area and all those, its form. So all of the pauses are done after the exhale, and it's to protect your lungs. You shouldn't hold your breath in for any length of time.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
It's a great one.
Hi, my name is Kayla. I grew up in Colorado where the elevation is very high, and so there's less oxygen in the air. So why, if we need less oxygen, why is it harder to breathe at higher elevations?
Why is it harder to breathe? Because the pressure is less, the gases, and it's, really the same thing happens every time you fly in an airplane. They only pressurize the cabins to like 10,000 feet. So the oxygen goes down temporarily on any flight, for instance. And what Buteyko does, there is a book called The Oxygen Advantage. And, a lot of athletes train where they like having the lower oxygen, because then their blood creates more of those receptor sites for oxygen to compensate. So again, your body has some ways of making up for the change in the pressure of the oxygen. And you can actually simulate the oxygen deprivation to make your blood have more receptor sites by doing breath holds and working at it too. So that's all part of it. It depends what you're trying to achieve, but your breathing should still be only through your nose and with your diaphragm. And people have done that trekking up mountains, and it's more efficient breathing. That's the way to overcome the variances like that, the change in altitude.
Wonderful, thank you.
You're welcome.
One more. Yeah, otherwise we move on. Okay. Thank you so much, Carol.
No more questions, and hope to see you soon again. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're gonna have now a little pee break, but really literally a pee break, 2-3 minutes, and then we come back and we're gonna welcome Dr. Burnson. So.
Hi, Money. Money.
So, man hört uns jetzt, glaube ich. Ich glaube, wir starten erst um 18:30 Uhr.
Dr. Bergson, please unmute yourself. I muted you briefly, so just unmute yourself once more.
Okay.
Are you able to unmute yourself?
Du musst noch Mikrofon. Dr. Bernsen, klicken Sie mal auf Ihr kleines rotes Mikrofon. Die sind nicht durchgestrichen, Sie hören sich nicht. Da unten in der Ecke ist ein kleines Mikrofon, das ist durchgestrichen da. Ja. Dr. Bernsen. Ja. Ja, super.
Ich hatte gefragt, ob du loslegen sollst.
Hello? Yes, we can start. We can start. Okay. I'm ready.
So, einmal für
Hello.
Hello.
Hello together in Greece.
Yeah. One moment, I'm going to introduce you, Dr. Burns. Yes.
Oh, you couldn't see us.
Okay. Oh, now we can see us, right?
Well, I'll show you.
Yes, we're fine now. Okay. Okay.
Ah, yeah. Monica, I see you.
So,
Meine Schrift.
Ja, machen wir gleich da.
Hi.
Hello. Okay. It's very small, but I see different persons. Yes. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. All right. I'm very excited to introduce you now to my next guest speaker and the founder of the face former. Dr. Klaus Bernsen lives in the middle of Germany in the town of Unna. There, together with his wife, he leads the ISST, an International Institute for Systemic and Neuropsychological Therapy. He's also head of the Dr. Bernsen Corporation, a research and development sales company for medical technology products. He has been involved in neuroscientific research for 30 years. Is the author of numerous specialist articles, is an international lecturer, and has developed medical technology patterns and treatment methods. Today, he will explain the importance and of the most vital basic functions, breathing and swallowing. He will also present the face training therapy. I discovered the face former 6 months ago and use it daily for sleeping, and also started training with it and find it to be a very effective tool. Ich übergebe an Sie, Dr. Bernsen.
Ja, just a minute.
Ja.
So. Yeah, hello to Greece, to all course participants. Hello, Monica, greeting from Unna, from Germany. I think everybody knows where Unna is. It's an international town. And, no, it's a small town near Dortmund and near Cologne. But I have just a minute. I have any problems here, so I can arrange it. Yeah. Yes, we originally developed face therapy about 20 years ago for severely disabled people. They couldn't eat, drink, or swallow. Most of them were tube feet. The successful application of the method has meant that it has been continuously developed. It is used today in many countries around the world and is becoming increasingly widespread. They have a place in different medical fields, in dentistry, orthodontics, pain therapy, for the treatment of various functional disorders, for the treatment of breathing and swallowing disorders, and so on. You have understood how CO2 and CO and oxygen affect breathing, and that nasal breathing is important for this. Hypocapnia and hypercapnia change the pH value in the breath and the blood, and in the cells cause either alkalosis and acidosis. Don't want to go into these things anymore, and instead consider the neurophysiological functions that play a decisive role in the respiratory system. After all, you can understand me well?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. After all, we breathe whether we are thinking about it or not, whether we are asleep or awake. Okay. Phase forward therapy corrects basic functions. If these deviate from the normal, the human system reacts with various signs of illness. Starting from the head, especially the mouth, throat, nasal region, health disorders are listed in this picture. They are usually treated symptomatically without examining or considering basic functions. Today, I'm going to explain some connections to how disturbed basic functions affect. The focus on the two functions are breathing and swallowing. You can see it in the middle of this picture, mouth and throat, and these are connected with nose, neck, and the central nervous system. And around this, you see different symptoms that that are related if the functions are.
Auf dem anderen Bildschirm mit der Maus zeigen.
On this part. Okay, you can see it now. The mouth, the throat is in the center of the head here, because is central to infect the other parts of the nose and the neck and the central nervous system. And around you can see different symptoms, and these symptoms normally are reactions of problems of this region. So. Yeah, phase former therapy has a corrective influence on various functional systems. We have assigned them to an inner and outer functional circle. This is the outer one, and this is the inner one. Yeah, both are interdependent. As long as there are malfunction in one system, they will spread to the other. So these are connected. The inner system has special functions. The constitutive dominant functions are breathing and swallowing. Other orofacial functions are mastication, verbal articulation, phonation, ventilation, head balance, and so on. The external system has very strong muscles and constitutes the head posture, the head balance, the body static. Muscle functions: anterior ventral flexing, posterior dorsal flexing, lateral flexing, rotatory. But I can move my head in in all directions, and this are in this wise, these muscles are in action. Yeah, okay. The inner functional circuit is divided into various interactive functional elements. Their functions are directly related to one another. You can see it right here. And there is one around, and this around, the blue one circle, is the constitutive dominant functions of breathing and swallowing. These functions are, in fact, all the other functions. Malfunctions in one segment result in compositions in all other segments. Compensation in this case are deviating reflective reactions. This means that functions are carried out, but with a wrong cause. If the composition has been in place for too long, health problems of varying degrees arise. For example, you can swallow or breathe, but the execution is not physiological, not as biological intended. Next. The most important functions of the orovestibular system are those of the lips, tongue, and soft palate. The lips must be able to close the oral cavity so that no air can penetrate. The tongue is the regulator in the mouth. It coordinates almost all activities in the oral cavity that are important for breathing and swallowing. To do this, the tongue needs sufficient tension and habitual posture. It will show this in more detail below. Soft palate tension and posture are also directly dependent on tongue movement. You can see here how different the tongues are. Better said, how the function can be recognized by this shape. Look, the tongues. Yeah. They have wrinkles, look big and white, lumpy, as if they wouldn't fit in your mouth at all. Except for one tongue, actually cannot do their job properly. They are from people who sometimes have massive health problems. You can see a functioning tongue as a second bottom picture. Right here. That's a tongue in good condition, and the other people has a lot of problems, not only with the tongue, they have different disease because the tongue is not in the right function. The inner muscles of the tongue can be seen here. The muscles fibers are interwoven and run through the tongue lengthways, transversally and vertically. This allows her the high degree of mobility that she needs when chewing, swallowing, and above all, when speaking. Mouth closure is important, both when swallowing and breathing. The pictures shown here belong to the mechanism that ensure the mouth closure. You can see, I put it right. The adhesion of relaxed lips. Yeah, the adhesion is the force of the lips. Adhesion of relaxed lips, yes, right here. Nasal breathing, very important for mouth closure. Physiological tongue position. The tongue is very important to close your mouth. The right position of the tongue is very important to close your mouth. Under pressure in the oral cavity. If you breathe through the nose, you have every time under pressure in the throat and in the mouth. And that's the reason why the mouth is closed every time, also in the night. There's an option, that's option B. You do never this because you cannot train your lips. It's important that your lips close your mouth, not a tape. And under the tape, the muscles cannot work. It's terrible to do this in this wise. The face former has, for this, the face former has a membrane function to close the mouth in the day and night if you wear the face former. Okay, and next, the most important muscle, the tongue, is involved in all functions and adjusts them precisely. It works like a hypomachleon from which everything starts. By tensing up and taking on its biological function, it makes movements more precise and introduces reflective mechanism. Among other things, it also centers the lower jaw and guides it into a correct position even while sleeping. Yeah, look the function of the hypomachleon. This is a point where the tongue insert. The tongue has to be there every time, but if you speak or chewing, it cannot be there. It's normal. But in the other time, it's oriented in this position. Look here, you have the different muscles are connected with the tongue. The tongue is also connected to the bone skull and the soft palate by muscles. It can thus affect a large area of action. Of this, you can realize actions in different parts in your mouth, in your throat, and as well for the static, for the balance of the head and your whole body. That's the part is started from here. The soft palate and tongue are connected by first muscle arch. Sorry. This you can see here one. You can see it in your mouth as well, and you see another one right here. This one is connect the tongue with the palate. The name is palatoglossus. The name of a muscle is palatoglossus. This first one. Oh, sorry, you can see it here better. This. The second one is this. This is a muscle connected with pharynx and the palatum. When swallowing, the larynx rises and the soft palate closes the nasal passage. The correct posture and position of the tongue can be seen here. The other picture is an example of how the originally correct function of the tongue is changed by external influences. This deviation remains for a lifetime. If the tongue is in this position, it's over the lifetime. It can only be changed again through therapy. That's the normal position. That's the deviate position.
Ist es ein Nuckel, Dr. Bernsen, der so gezeigt wird? Ein Schnuller?
Yes, that's a pacifier, yeah?
Yeah, the blue one is the pacifier and it pushes the tongue down. That you understand.
I cannot understand right because it's not.
If the pacifier is pushing the tongue down.
Yes, the pacifier is pushing the tongue down. It can also be the thumb, but the problem is if the pacifier or the thumb is over a long time in the mouth, and then the tongue has a deviate possibility for movement, because this movement will be learned by the brain, and after you have this deviate movement for compensate other function, different functions, and the problem for the whole life. The nasopharyngeal interaction segment primarily relates to nasal breathing. You have heard a lot of nasal breathing, but I explain a little more. Only a functioning nose enables you to breathe through your nose. Next step. So, constitutive dominant function of nasal breathing, the nasopharyngeal interaction, this segment primarily relates to nasal breathing. Only a functioning nose enables you to breathe through the nose. Nasal breathing is not possible even without closing the mouth. You cannot learn the nasal breathing if the nasal are not in a good function. If there is if the pathways for the air are obstructive, then you cannot breathe through the nose. You can try it, but it is not right. If you work a little bit, if you do training by sport, you change to mouth breathing in a short time. You cannot hold the nasal breathing. The flow breath is conducted to the racen via 3 nasal turbinates, and from their via the windpipe to the lungs. The upper turbinate has direct contact with our olfactory. Right, das ist hier. Ups, ich muss nochmal zurück. Sorry. The upper turbinate has direct contact, this one, has direct contact with our olfactory organ. Smelling stimulates brain activity and the formation of brain neurotransmitters. When breathing through the mouth, these stimuli are inadequate. It cannot, was ist angeregt? It cannot be
Stimulate.
It cannot stimulate. If you breathe through the mouth, you cannot stimulate your functions of the olfactory system. You cannot smell. You cannot smell right. But it's a very important function, because the smelling you need for in fact brain functions and the information system in the brain over the neurotransmitter. They will be built up if you stimulate the olfactory system. That's another reason why you have to breathe through the nose. And we think that a lot of disease are problems of the mouth breathing. So here you see this nose as in the middle. It's deviate to one side. One side is small and the other is big. So this one are equal. And but through this nose pass the same dieselbe Menge,
Volume.
the same bound, the same amount, the same value, yes, the same value, like through this nose. The airflow is distributed on both sides on the nose, but the permeability varies. Here 70%, here 30%, but in the throat are coming 100% here as well, 50-50, and here 70-30, but 100 is come to the lung, and that's the important thing. You have not to do a surgery to correct it. You can train it. You have not. It's not important yet to do a surgery. The surgery can. Is not necessary to do and can make a lot of problems after them. Yeah. Nasal breathing must also be maintained during sleep. Mouth breathing results in snoring, nocturnal breathing pauses, and many diseases. We believe that depression or neurodegenerative disease can also be triggered by this. That's a very, very, very big problem, the breathing through the mouth. And a lot of people do it, for example, by sleeping. Huh? Yeah. Yeah, even COVID, yes. The COVID is a problem for the upper airway system and for the lungs as well, for the other airways. But if you're breathing through the mouth, the virus are coming in very easy. There is through the nose. They are, what is filtered? Huh? They are filtered, they are warm up, they are
Moisture.
They are moisture, yeah, they are moisture, yeah, they are moisture. Okay. The third one is from the craniocervical function model, is the oropharyngeal interaction segment. What has it to do? The pharyngeal functions and the movement of the larynx are assigned to the oropharyngeal interaction segment. In the larynx, the airways and the foot passage meet. It's very interesting that these two functions are connected in the pharynx, in this part. Yeah, coming from the nose, coming the air, and go to the pipe of the air, and from the mouth coming the foot, and here coming both together. You see, meeting point of breathing and foot pass, breathing and swallowing come together right here, because it's important that that we train both the swallowing and the breathing, not only one. It's not enough. They are interactive functions, and we have to know it. Look here, you see the epiglottis, the vocal cords, the epiglottis, the vocal cords, and And this is the windpipe where coming the air, the breathing air in. And in the other part is a foot pipe. In this part is a foot pipe. And from the mouth comes the foot in this pipe. If the mouth come from, if the foot come from here, the windpipe has to be closed. And there is the epiglottis closed this windpipe, but the most important thing is the closing of the vocal cords. The vocal cords are closed if you swallow. And in this time you swallow, you cannot, in the same time you swallow, you cannot breathe. It's impossible. This is taken into account in the phase former therapy, because that's the reason why we have different breathing breathing pattern as other therapies. For example, the therapy you have heard before, the therapy of Buteyko. He stopped the breathing after the exhale. And we do it in a little bit otherwise. But for us, it's important, these both functions come together, and in this time, we stop the breathing. Oh, the number 4 is this part in the mouth and in the throat. This part, we name it Oroidal interaction system. This is a very important system for the balance of the head. If this, you can see here, these muscles, the tongue, in the upper in the upper position, in the upper part, and you see here the muscles of the from the chin to the tongue. And she has other muscles coming here and going to the hyoid. Hyoid is a bone in your throat, and it is connected. The bone is connected with your tongue and different other muscles, and goes to the part of your clavicula. But name clavicula as a special name, or you can see it here. It acts the position of your head. As the balance of your head is reacted in this part. In this part is reacted the balance of your head. You see it here. If the balance is not in the right position, like here, that's the right position. You see, we have a lot of deviations here in this part, in the cervical region. In the cervical spinal region. Yeah, here we can see where the changes occur due to the posture of the head. The influences on the spine are clearly visible. In attitude, they run through to the feet. Shifting the lower jaw back changes the airway and all movements in the mouth. You can see it here. It's normal. It opens the mouth, and all the movements in the mouth are deviated. The nose, the top of the nose is going up. The face former is the face former. You see the device here has a membrane for sealing function, has a lip wedge to compress with the lips. And here are the way of you have to press 20 millimeters, and the weight if you press
You need to.
If you press it total together, 900 grams. The tip of the tongue at the top behind the incisors is a position, the start position for the tongue. It named incisive papilla, a small bulge behind the teeth. The tongue does not touch the teeth. It's a little bit behind the teeth. It's not in connect. It's not do not connect the teeth. And you see here the head balance. You put the chin neck angle approximately 90 degrees right here to the throat, and stretch the neck. Stretch the neck. That's very important to stretch the neck, and this angle right here 90 degrees. The tongue is in this position. The neck is stretched. That's the basic static position.
Dr. Bernsen, können wir bald die Übung machen mit Ihnen auch und danach Fragen auch stellen?
Ja, das machen wir gleich. We will do it. Ja? Machst du das? My wife can do it. Ja, okay. Die Übungen. Only the treatment. Yeah, you do the treatment or no? Okay, she can do it. Face former therapy note, no lower jaw at once. No, put the lower jaw in front. Let it be in the same position of the usual bite position. Maintain nasal breathing in the whole time, and in a special rhythm. We explain it later. That's the starting position. It's a starting point. You can see it here. The wedge is between the lips, the membrane. Close the mouth behind the lips, before the teeth. That's the positioning and starting positioning and the starting position. Face former therapy, press the lips together firmly. Here you can see the lips are together. You start here and you press the lips together. And now you see on this picture the opening of the nose. It's very important because a lot of people cannot breathe through the nose because the nose has no good functions. And if the nose is not wide open, you cannot breathe through the nose. You have to train it. And therefore, the muscles has been a good coordinated functions. Otherwise, it cannot be. You can do it if you have no stress and if you have no Belastung. If you do not train or anything, you can do it over a short time, but after you breathe through the mouth because the function of the nose is not right, it's not in the right way. That's very important. You have to remind if you do breathing treatment. Breathing treatment only for breathing through the nose is not a good idea if the nose have not the right functions. Yeah, you have to do it with the face former. You train the nose open, and then the breathing has a good work. Okay. Face former therapy, pulling exercise. We do the same like before, but we pull on the lip wedge, but we hold it with the lips, and all is in the same position like before. The the jaw is in the same position, and the tongue as well, the same position. You see it here, and the head position all is in the same way, all in the same way like before. You do it 3 times a day. You press 6 seconds, and you relax 6 seconds, and you repeat the exercises 20 times, every 3 times a day. But you started with 8 to 10 exercises if you begin the face therapy. Yes, and after you have, after 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, you can decide it for you. You put the face warmer in the night in the mouth, because we have to close the mouth with a membrane, and you have to breathe through the nose over the whole night. It's very important. Do it not with a tape, do it with a face warmer. After 5 or 6 weeks, you have new patterns, you have learned new patterns, and the learning process have to get automatically in your brain. Therefore, you have to do these exercises over a long time, minimum over 6 months, every day. This has to be automatically developed, and then you are on the right way. Okay, my wife can show you the training now. Yeah. Stop. Okay, just a moment. So.
Hi, nice to meet you. Okay, I'm sitting now. Ich bin so. Bist du denn nicht runter?
Er muss auch da unten rauftreten, also würde ich jetzt auch nicht üben.
Okay, ich lasse ihn jetzt. Egal. Okay. We have heard a lot of the theory about the face warmer training, and I think you get some ideas how important it is to combine swallowing and breathing. And you must realize that's, thank you. Oh, okay. You must realize that's not enough only to breathe through your nose while you are not swallowing in the correct way. Because if you are not swallowing in the correct way, if you get rid of the correct position, the physiological position of the tongue, then you may not be able to close your lips continuously. Because if the tongue goes down, actually it's a normal Folge. It's Folge, result that you open your mouth, and when your mouth is open, it's easier, and it's a normal result that you breathe through your mouth. So you have to change both. And therefore we developed the therapy with the face warmer, and we insist that you need to correct both functions, the basic functions, the basic physiological functions. Okay, you've heard this is a membrane of the face warmer. It gets between the teeth and the lips in the vestibular situation, and the lip wedge looks out, okay, out of your mouth. Before you look for the correct posture, neck stretch, you can see it, I hope, like this, not like this. A lot of patients, a lot of people you know are sitting like this in disbalance. And therefore, in combination, they have all their malfunctions. Okay, now we, and is to sit in this correct position with the neck
Imagine
stretch.
you have a band right here, and I try to take the head on the band to
Like a pencil, and you want to go with the pencil to the roof.
Yeah.
Okay. Then we are sitting in the correct position. Now imagine to realize that you have the correct position of the tongue on the palate, about the papilla incisiva. It's a little bit behind, a little platform, a little bit behind the frontal teeth, the frontal upper teeth. You can feel it. There are the ref of the palate. Try to feel it with the tip of the tongue, like a little mountain and a platform, and there on this platform you can put the tip of the tongue, and when you are swallowing, the tongue will be able to stay here and not slip away in a different position against the teeth, between the teeth, or against the lower teeth. So basic position, neck stretch, tongue in the correct position. And now I put the face warmer in my mouth. Yeah. And when I put the face warmer in my mouth, I will stay with my tip of the tongue in this position. I stay with the neck stretch and press the lip wedge together for 6 seconds. After 6 seconds, I bite and swallow and stay. That's the important thing. Stay with the tip of the tongue also and always in this position. Then I relax after swallowing. Stay with the tongue in the correct position. Relax the jaw and relax my lips and stay in the correct position and with the neck stretch. This part I take for also 6 seconds. That's the first exercise. And you've heard from my husband that you do this, or you repeat this exercise in the first days of your training 6 times, 3 times a day. So now I start to show you the first exercise, and you can do it or try it together with me. Okay, now when I have the face warmer in my mouth, I ask my husband to help because it's not so easy to speak. Yeah, I can do it, you can see. Okay, you can talk with the face warmer in your mouth. It's not so difficult, but you need to be used a little bit. If you can do it, it is also a little training, but it's not so easy to understand from other people. I hope you can understand me. Okay. Tip of the tongue in the correct position. And now I press the lips together. Right, and swallow.
Right.
And
More or less. You can see the activity of the muscle, of the masseter muscle. This muscle is for chewing. The most important muscle for chewing can press about 80 kilograms. Yeah, this muscle, you see it right here. If she swallow, yes, it come out and it go back. If you lose the bite.
And one very important indication is that you realize in which direction the lip wedge shows. Because if you are in the wrong position of your lower jaw, then the lip wedge no, it looks upwards. Okay, like this. Look.
Going up because the lower jaw is not in the right position. It's in a position
Forward.
It's not the right position. And in the other way, you can put the lower jaw too much back. It go the lip wedge, the tip of the lip wedge go in another direction. Both are wrong. It has to be horizontal, yeah, in the horizontal way. Not too much up and not too much down.
Try to keep it in this position. At least you must look, because if the posture of the upper jaw is more frontal and the people press the lip wedge together, it's a little bit looking down, but it's not so bad. The most wrong thing is if you push your lower jaw forward in this position. Okay? You can look again. We do it once more, and then we do the pulling exercise.
Nee, Riesen.
Dann sag du das jetzt an.
Yeah. No, she do it in the same way. And we combined it now with the breathing exercise. We do both together. And the breathing exercise in this way. You press the lip wedge together and you breathe through the nose, and it takes 6 seconds. The whole time are you pressing, you breathe. Just a moment. I explicated it before and after. You can do it. Okay. The whole time you press the lip wedge together, you're still breathing over 6 seconds. And after, you have bite the molars together. That's the muscle come. And in this time, you cannot breathe because you swallow. And in the same time you swallow, you cannot breathe. And we take this time for a breathing stop. Yeah, it's a little bit time more as only the bite time, but it's 4 or 5 seconds, but no more. And after we exhale over 6 seconds. Yes, we exhale over 6 seconds. Huh? And repeat in the same way the next exercise. Okay, once more. You press the lip wedge together. Now do it. You inhale 6 seconds. Very slow, 6 seconds. You need the whole time. After, you bite the teeth together, hold it, and now you exhale over 6 seconds. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Why that was a question? Why we do it in a different way? I have to see this question. Can you explain it once more? The
exercise with the breathing.
Exercise, yeah.
Okay. Or is it more important that you also see the pulling exercise?
No, the pulling exercise we won't do today.
So the battery is low. Okay, I take earphones. Okay, now I can.
Thank you so much for showing, and I'm sure we have some questions here from the participants, so we wanted to see if you are available for us.
Okay, ja, okay. Also erstmal die Fragen und dann Später vielleicht nochmal, wenn wir noch Zeit
Ja,
haben.
warte mal, muss ich selber eben gucken.
Ganz abgehakt.
Also the first question.
Yeah.
I have it right down. Yeah. Yeah, the first question. Okay.
You have to put the headset on. Yeah.
Yeah. The first snoring has also to do with weakening of Gaumensegel when the body gets older.
Nichts verstehen.
Hä?
Da kann man immer, guck mal, setz mal auf, kannst nichts verstehen.
Du kannst mich nicht verstehen?
Ich kann, was sie sagt, nicht verstehen, ist ganz
Also.
abgehakt.
Ja.
Hello, 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 hello. Can you hear me?
Ja, ist ein bisschen sehr abgehört.
Can you hear me?
Ja.
Kein Wort verstehen.
Can you hear me?
Ja, warte, probiert mal.
Okay,
Wollt ihr?
ich brauche sie jetzt nicht.
Das liegt vielleicht an der Internet, da kann man nichts machen.
That's a problem of the internet. In Greece. Snoring has also to do with weakening of the Gaumensegel when the body gets older. How could the improved by the breathing? Or is there another effect? Of course, snoring is also associated weakening soft palate. However, the soft palate does not weaken.
Ich weiß nicht, can you understand us?
Ja, wir würden gerne von unserer Seite aus fragen und dann könntet ihr ja antworten.
Ich verstehe Sie
Also
jetzt.
Sie
We would like to
wollen,
ask from our end.
Sie wollen von Ihrer Seite aus fragen und dann sollen wir antworten.
Ja,
Nicht
dann hör
vorlesen.
mal, ich verstehe es auch ganz schlecht.
Okay, dann bitte die erste Frage
Okay,
am besten. Wir versuchen es mal.
Ja,
Ich höre
Ja,
mal.
okay, also viel durch Ihre Erklärung schon beantwortet der Fragen. Aber ist es
oh,
so?
tell me English.
Oh, sorry. I have to switch to English. A lot of questions you already answered with your presentation. But is snoring not possible if you have the mouth closed? Do you as soon as
Jetzt höre ich wieder gar nichts. Also I understand it's snoring not possible
Yeah,
if
as
the
soon
mouth is
as-
closed. Snoring.
Is it
Snoring not possible if the mouth
Yeah.
is closed. Okay? You can
Yeah.
understand? Yeah. Okay. No, it's not normally. It's not possible when the mouth is closed because the flow of the air goes through the nose and all the pipe of the air is pushed out and the muscles are strengthened and therefore the air is going down without the tongue falling back and moving the soft palate and the area around the soft palate, which makes a sound.
Okay, thank you very much. And I have one other question. Are there different sizes of the space former? So for example, do you also work with kids or only adults? Is it only usable for adults?
It's only possible in the part of the Koanen.
Nee, wir sind jetzt schon wieder weiter. Wir sind jetzt schon bei der Größe des Faceformers. The size of the face former is only one size and it fits from the second year to adults. We start with the training with children about 2 years and then up. If it is too small, you can see on the membrane a little triangle over there. I don't. You have one face former. You can see it here. It's for the lip tissue, the lip ligament of the lips here. You can cut it a little bit if the ligament of the lip inside is too short. But it's the own, yes. And if it at least does not fit, you can cut it a little bit, but normally it fits up the second second year,
Okay.
like with children.
Okay. And could you explain the why, if you breathe through the mouth or if you do not breathe correctly, what can be improved in regards to teeth grounding, like Zähneknirschen?
Ja, Praxis.
Ja.
Ja. Willst du das erklären? Ach, du hast jetzt auch Kopfhörer. Okay. There are different.
I can explain it.
Okay.
I can explain. There are two explanations for the causes of teeth grinding. One of, on the one hand, stress should be cause, and on the other, the early contraction of teeth, supraocclusion. Both theories are implausible. Stress can make a weakness even weaker, and the result can be teeth grinding. But tinnitus, stomach ulcer, high blood pressure, or variety of other physical reactions could also occur. Wherever something is already weak, stress ensures that the fuse blows. Supraocclusion have been applied to people who have not gritted their teeth. None of them started grinding their teeth afterwards. So there is probably no connection there either. We assume that teeth grinding is a result of an imbalanced masticatory muscles and compensatory deviations of polysynaptic reflexes. The phase former therapy converts these to neurophysical patterns through controlled training. Compensations are resolved. That's the reason why it's a good function with the phase hormone.
And one example to realize, to make it feel for you, put your tip of the tongue in the correct position on the palate. Do it. Yeah. And now try to clench your teeth while you stay with your tip of the tongue in this position. Try to do it. It's not so easy.
I can still do it.
You can, but if you are concentrate, you can. Well, but normally, it's not possible.
It's because it's not possible, and a different matter of fact is that while you are putting the tip of the tongue to the palate, you automatically fall in the physiological position of the lower jaw without staying in contact with the upper jaw. And this is a physiological position.
Thank you very much for the explanation.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Yeah. Question.
Gut, vielen Dank. Wir würden uns gerne bedanken. Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Ja, war anstrengend.
But you are a very nice auditory. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yes.
What can she wants to show?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Ja. Können Sie uns sehen?
Ja,
yes.
Ja, two of you.
Dann zeige ich schwenke mal so. I'm gonna show a little bit.
Ich habe jetzt nichts verstanden. Es ist immer abgehakt.
I cannot hear in the...
Now, change it. Okay, Hi, and nice to see you, meet you, and have a nice evening. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Read that one. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay.
Oh, many.